Is it true that if you're under debt review, you can't get credit? How long does a person stay on debt review? And what would make a person consider wanting to go under debt review and the consequences for the person later on in the future? This is some of the things that I want to discuss in this video today. More and more South Africans are finding themselves in a debt trap. So with increase in petrol prices, increase in the interest rates, many people are finding themselves not being able to meet ends meet. So I just wanted to discuss what debt review was and how what it actually means to be under debt review. Hello, hi, Nosi here. Thank you for watching this video. So what is debt review? Debt review is a legal process of allowing people who are over-indebted with resolving their debt problems. If you are someone that you know is struggling keeping up with their debt, then debt review might be something that you might want to consider. To start the process, you'll need to contact a qualified debt counselor, preferably someone who's registered with the National Credit Regulator. They would assess your financial situation, your income, and the debt and determine if you truly are over-indebted. Being over-indebted means that you're not able to meet your obligations every month. What the counselor will do is to make a plan for you. So once they've made this plan that fits your needs, they'll then go to your creditors, and once your creditors accept this proposal, then you will make payments directly to the debt counselor. You will no longer have to deal with the creditors directly because the counselor then deals with them on your behalf. Some may feel that it is humiliating to go under debt review, but in some cases, the National Credit Act requires you to be placed under debt review before you go into saturation, which is a legal way to say bankruptcy, meaning that it could save you a lifetime of financial turmoil. So what are the advantages of being under debt review? The first advantage is that if you applied for debt review before any legal action was taken against you by the creditors, then those assets will be safe from being repossessed. From the moment you are under debt review, then you don't have to deal with the creditors directly. What you can tell them is that they need to speak to your debt counselor, who will then engage with them on your behalf. The interest rate can be lower, sometimes as little as 1%, and your repayment terms can also be extended. With the lower monthly interest rates and a longer repayment term, it means that how much you pay every month will be less and less, making it easy for you to be able to meet your financial obligations every month. All of your payments will be consolidated into one payment. This is the payment that you'll make to your debt counselor, who will then distribute it to the different creditors. And since you pay less monthly, this will mean that you have more money at your disposal to be able to meet your needs during the month. One of the things that a debt counselor also does for you is that they check if you've been a victim of a reckless lending, which means that you were granted credit when you were not supposed to be granted credit. If it's found that you were a victim of reckless lending, then that debt can be, in some cases, be excluded, and it can actually be written off in some cases as well. Something else to think about when you are on debt review is that you can't apply for new credit. So once you're under debt review, you can't apply for new credit. But this is actually a good thing if you think about it, because you're trying to get out of debt. So it wouldn't be a good idea to go and apply for debt when you're trying to get out of debt. But during that process and during that time, you won't be able to apply for new credit. Some of the disadvantages of being under debt review is that you can be sort of not accepted for debt review. So that's something that can happen as well. And it will also take you longer to pay off your debt, which means that it just kind of keeps you in debt for a longer time, because your interest rate is likely to be lower and the duration is likely to be longer of how much you actually pay for the debt. Some accounts can also be excluded that were under the legal process already. So if you applied for debt review after legal action was taken against you, then sometimes those accounts are not included under debt review. And during this process, you will have to give up on luxury. So anything that you want to do, you'll have to cut it out of your life, because you have to pay that amount every single month. So it's sort of a lifestyle adjustment, especially if you're used to going out and buying things, or just living life. Then you'll want to cut down a little bit on that so that you can meet this monthly obligation that you have to meet. And you will not be allowed to use any retail or credit cards during that process, or apply for new credit cards. You will be flagged at the credit bureaus, but not blacklisted. But there will be an indication on your profile that you are under debt review. It doesn't mean you're blacklisted. I don't think you can be blacklisted anymore, or if you ever could be, but you won't be blacklisted. You'll just be flagged that you are under debt review, and during that time you will not be able to get new credit. It is also important to continue with the process during the agreement. It's not wise to default on any payment once you're under debt review, because you lose a chance of losing the whole agreement. So remember, this agreement was to help you to pay a little bit less and to pay a little bit for a longer period of time. So if you default on that, you can actually lose that agreement, and then the creditors may then come and either implement the original terms of the agreement, or they can take legal action against you if you've been defaulting and not paying your debts when they're due. So why would a person consider to be under debt review? Research shows that on average, people spend 8% more on groceries and 16% more on fuel for 2023 compared to 2022. This means that more and more people are turning to credit to be able to meet their monthly needs. So because of the financial situation that we find ourselves in currently, more and more people are under pressure, and then maybe some of people may want to then consider being under debt review. So that's one of the reasons why a person would actually consider being under debt review. But before we do anything, and also just as a disclaimer for this video, I'm not a financial advisor. I am an financial analyst, but it's a good idea to do your research to find out what debt review is, to apply if you want to apply from a reputable, accredited company, and to make sure you know exactly what you're getting yourself into. The purpose of this video was to just highlight what it is, that it is an option if you're under pressure and under duress, and just to give a little bit more information. When you contact the debt counselor, you will have a free debt assessment. This debt assessment allows the counselor to determine your level of debt and if this is something that is suitable for you. If the assessment determines that you are over-indebted, then you can formally apply for debt review. The debt counselor will do most of the heavy lifting. So they're the ones that will go to the creditors, they're the ones that will go to the credit bureau like TransUnion and let them know that you have applied for debt review and are undergoing debt counseling. As part of the process, the debt counselor negotiates lower monthly payments on your behalf for all the agreements that fall under the National Credit Act. They'll do like a plan specifically fit for your needs. Once the agreement has been accepted and the negotiations are done, what the counselor will do is that they'll go to court, or they'll go to the National Consumer Tribunal to ensure that the renegotiated rates are fixed for the duration of the agreement. The court will have to find that you have been over-indebted and accept the new payment terms before it can make a court order. This means that creditors cannot make higher demands once this is in place. The process usually lasts between 3 to 5 years, depending on the negotiated terms that the counselor did with the creditors. So depending on your specific agreement that the counselor was able to do for you, that then determines how much it is. But that then determines how long the agreement is for. But while I was doing research, it's shown that usually the agreements are between 3 to 5 years. You are allowed to pay more if your circumstances change. So you pay more so that you can reduce the amount of time that you're under debt review and also clear your debt. So that is something that is an option that's allowed. And if you find yourself being in a situation where you can do it, then I would suggest that you actually do it. Once the payment plan has been completed, you'll be issued with a clearance certificate. This clearance certificate shows that you are all paid up. But also remember that this doesn't include home loans, because home loans generally tend to be much longer than 3 to 5 years. The counselor will make sure that the credit bureau receives the clearance certificate. So who can apply for debt counseling? Any individual who finds themselves not being able to meet their debts and who also has a source of income is eligible to apply for it. All credit granted to you as an individual under the National Credit Act is included. These things are like your bond, your vehicle finance, and personal loan, and all other types of debt are included under the debt review process. Municipal and NSFAS are unfortunately not included in the debt review process. Bond and vehicle repayments are included in the debt review process. This also gives you comfort that your car and your home will be under protection while you are under this agreement. So it gives you some sort of like comfort that while you went and you negotiated a lower rate and a lower payment term, during that process and during that period, your home and your car are included, and that you are not under risk of repossession and losing those items. For bond repayments, during that period while you are under debt review, you'll pay lower interest and the amount that you pay every month will be lower. And once you are out of that agreement and you are fully caught up, then they will revert back to the original interest and the original amount you were paying before you got under debt review. You will make one payment every month to the Payment Distribution Agency. This agency is responsible of then paying themselves for their fees and then also distributing the remainder to the relevant creditors. You will not be allowed to apply for new credit once you are under debt review, but once you have been cleared and issued the clearance certificate and your debt counselor went to the bureaus to issue them with the certificate, then you are allowed to apply for credit after that. You cannot use your credit card while you are under debt review, and after you have completed the process, you will have to apply for a new credit card, because essentially your credit card is paid up and it is like scrapped. So the purpose of debt review from my research is that what they're trying to do is to basically get you back to basics, so get you back to zero. So the credit card that you would have had before is it's not there anymore, and you've paid it up, and if you want new credit, you then have to apply for a new credit card. It's important to understand that you will not be blacklisted. It's not possible for a person to be blacklisted. When you're under debt review, you will be flagged as being under debt review, and during that process you can't apply for credit, which means that after you have completed the process and gotten the certificate, then you can apply for credit. It's important to also remember that you will have to build your credit up again after the process. So it's not that you are blacklisted, but remember, I think that people say the word blacklisted is not that you're blacklisted, but it's like creditors are not comfortable giving you credit. So when they look at your repayment history and your actual credit score, because if it is low or you just default a lot on your credits, then lenders are not likely to want to give you credit. But it's not that you're blacklisted, it just means most of the time that your credit score is low. If you are married, you'll have to understand the kind of marriage that you have. If you are married in community of property, you and your spouse are both liable for the debt, which means that both of you will have to apply jointly for debt review. However, if you're married out of community of property, the debt is yours alone, and therefore that means that you will be the person who then applies for debt review. Your debt counseling journey ends once you are fully paid up and once you've been issued with a certificate. It is not, from what I researched and what I could find online, it's not possible to actually cancel and to get out of a debt review. It can be, I don't know, but from my research and what I could find online, I couldn't see that you could actually get out of it. You are out of it once you have completed the process, once you've been issued the certificate, and then your unsecured debt, which is like your personal loans and your credit cards, are fully paid up and caught up. If you find yourself being over-indebted and not being able to meet your monthly obligations, I think it's a good idea to consider a debt review. But remember, you need to do your research and find out for yourself if this is something that you want to do, so that you are fully aware of what it means and fully aware that you are sort of tied in for a couple of years. Under this process, you will not be allowed to apply for new loans or new credit, and you will have to meet the obligations once the agreement has been set in place. So it's a good idea to get into it if you want to just pay a lower amount, a lower interest. You want to have like some kind of security that your home or your car are safe during that process. But it's also maybe not a good idea if you want to apply for credit in future. But having said that, if you are struggling financially, then maybe you don't want to apply for new credit in the future. So it's just something that we need to think about, something we just need to consider, because while we want to be debt free, we also don't want to tie ourselves down in things that we may not understand and possibly affect our future. Thank you very much, guys, for watching. If this has been helpful for you, please do subscribe and like. I'll really appreciate it, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.